Hey folks, how's it going? We're live, it's Friday. We've made it for the week. We do some game dev today. We're playing around with Unity. See if we can get some bits further on this this project. Need to try and get it to at least a reasonable demo stage prior to the end of this year. So without further ado, let's switch over into Unity itself and see what we can do with this. So I say this every time, but I never remember what I was working on last time. I have a rough idea. I think we were working on kind of centralizing the projectiles, really. So a quick test. I can't recall if I fixed. So I need to fix the audio. So the Panda. Oh yeah, Panda work. Is this what we fixed last time? We managed to get these working because we. I think working what we did work on. Certainly fixed a few things. However, they're slightly unpredictable because these aren't spawning as they should. So I think we need to have a look at these projectiles. Because these aren't centralized, really, are they? We need to make sure all these projectiles exist within the same kind of plane. Set them all to 0. Now if I do the pumpkin to 0, because I'm spawning it within a parent object. It's still got a weird thing going on, but so it will be zeroed out. What we do is getting the because this rock sits exactly at 0, 0. Right, it sits center to that line, which is what we want to go for, I suppose. Doesn't matter if that's not 0, 0, 0. We want it to sit basically where that is. So the panda is sitting like that, that's fine. Pumpkin. So the pumpkin is above, so we do need to bring the pumpkin down to there. So the rock is dead centre there. Pumpkin is not. Still doesn't seem to have done what I would expect it to. It's a cool effect, it's not what we're going for. Let's create a cube. Make sure the cube is 0, 0, 0. If that's 0, 0, 0, why is the pumpkin all the way up there? Oh, because it's... Because this isn't 0, 0, 0, is this the case? Maybe that's the problem. Let's remove this cube. See, that looks better. That's let's save that and try again. There we go, that's it. Still doing something a little bit weird there, but it's closer to what it should be. All these things are zeroed, so that's good. See, to me that looks like it is centre. Let's have a quick... Let's go panda. Okay, so the panda feels central to me. Okay, barrel's fine, not an issue with barrel. This, on the other hand, barbell. So I made this in Unity. Now, I'm not thinking of keeping this. I'll probably have to make a better thing, but as far as a test object, this will do for now. Okay. Probably do for having the have the rock show something tangible. Barbell needs to be a bit lower down then. Okay, see how this works. Still seems wildly off. Okay, we have a sphere. Keep the sphere in there. The sphere doesn't need a collider. Okay. We can kind of see how the let's change it to a barbell. So the barbell is far too far forward. Let's change to pumpkin. So pumpkin is pretty much there, so they all a little bit too high. Panda. Are you switching from the game view to? Oops, press enter on accident. That's okay. How's it going, Sam? Yeah, I need to put Now, as long as all of these are spawning at roughly the same position relative to each other, I could adjust because they all seem to be spawning. The bottom of the object I'm spawning seems to be sitting at the center of the sphere, which is fine. That's an easy enough to, yeah, like that. That crate is a perfect example where it's spawning center of the sphere. Same with the rock. So everything is spawning from the center, which I understand why it's doing that. That's just how it functions. So I'll say the pumpkin is fine. So the panda is fine. Chicken I'll say is fine. The barbell is nowhere near the sphere. The chair looks fine. The barrel looks fine. Crate is fine and the rock is fine. So the barbell, we need to get the barbell closer . Can you not just lower the barbell so it's inside of the sphere and hide it, or doesn't it work? So that's what I was doing originally. Originally I was putting all the objects inside the sphere effectively. So all the objects were here already, so the crate, the barrel, the chair, everything was already inside there, and I positioned it exactly where I would like it to be, and I wrote the code so it would just basically show and hide stuff. Not a problem there. But I wanted to rewrite it so I didn't even have to have these objects in here. All I had to do is use a scriptable object and I could put anything I want in the sphere. So what I have to do is make one of these down here and I can instantly have a new object. I don't have to worry about positioning it, I don't have to drag it around. Just create it down here and it's there. Adding it to this list, of course. This list. So as long as it's in this list, it will be usable here. So I was moving away of having to manually add it to this list over here and reposition it. Just add it to this list and it's instantly all the code works without me having to change anything. Whereas this was very manual. I had to reference every single one separately. This one just takes an ID number 0 to 7 and just pulls in whatever's in that slot. So I could swap these out and go, actually I don't want a barbell, I could put say a desk fan or a telephone. But whatever I want I can put in that slot and instantly the game will use it. So I call this like an infantry slot. I can just drag it into there, bang, game works. But to do that I need to know that when it takes any of these objects and puts it over here, it's going to position it in the right place. At the moment it's positioning the object in the center of the sphere. Cool. But if the bottom of the object isn't the bottom of the spawn, such as the barbell appears to be spawning kind of up here, whereas all the other objects are spawning where I expect them to spawn. So we go to the barbell. The barbell looks to be center. It looks to be center, so that's what I need to work out. What's the code behind it? So that's a good point. I've not actually opened the code yet. get the C Sharp project open. So the code behind it is just a selection code. No, don't want to update just yet. Thank you. So these are selection buttons, so that just kind of selects a button. You go select projectile. Let's go to that. There you go. So here's the code for loading it basically. So it takes the ID number, runs another bit of script which will use that ID number to set which object I'm using, or which rock. I call them all rocks, they're not all rocks, but so it sets the current rock ID. It has an array of rocks. So it finds all the objects with the tag of rock. Grabs the launching code. And then it will grab the rock, the first rock in the list. There should only be one rock in the list. But if it happens to select multiple rocks, then it always takes the first rock in the list. Selects the rock, and that kind of sets it then. Where's the actual launch? Select rock. Okay, so select rock. When we select a rock, it gets the current ID, and then get current mesh. Oh yeah, so it gets the current the object from the ID. So wherever the ID currently is, get that object, store it as a rock, destroy all of the rocks, and then here's when we spawn it here. So I'm spawning whatever the selected rock is. So grabbing the rock, spawning it, getting the rock holder, which is the sphere. Well, the sphere is representing it at the moment. You don't see the sphere. But basically gets the holding up the empty game object, which is the rock holder. Gets that position. And then spawns into that position there. So basically just put it in the center of the sphere, which is fine for nearly all the objects. So this one bit of code effectively just puts whatever rock of my choosing into that sphere. But this barbell, when it spawns, it's not spawning central. So I don't think the center of this barbell is actually the center. I used something similar before, I think, but with the overlap circle to check if the player is grounded. But you use a different check, yeah. So, because I'm not, yeah, so, because the sphere is not going to be there anyway. I just want to spawn an object, so it's, the actual, I go back. Yeah, this actual empty game object here, called the rock, that has got all the code on it. So everything that happens to this empty game object. It even has a rigid body. All I'm doing is changing the mesh that represents this empty game object. And changing what sound effects it uses. So depending on the mesh, the sound effect will change. So it's a wooden mesh, like a crate, you make a wooden sound. If it's a rock, it makes a rock sound. If it's metal, you make a metal sound. It's effectively the same as swapping out a weapon. And so far everything's spawning dead center of what is this sphere effectively. So you can see that rock is defaulted to there. But when I spawn the rock, if I hide that sphere, yeah, so that rock is kind of like a placeholder. But when I'm spawning that rock, it's actually spawning on that green center line. So the bottom of the rock is actually spawning on the center line there, as opposed to inside the circle. Now I can work my way around that, that's not an issue. I just need all of the objects I'm spawning to be at the same level. And then once they're all spawning at the same level, I now know where that center line is, and I can then adjust all the objects down so when they spawn, they're spawning in the center. So effectively all of these objects down the bottom here, like if I go to this pumpkin, oh, did not like that. Oh, it's gone to, let's try to open Blender, because the pumpkin is a Blender object. Right, while it's doing that, yeah. Yeah, so that's the pumpkin object I made. And we'll close that. Don't need to save that. Thank you. That's the one I wanted. That's the original object. This is the object within Unity. So I think to get this to spawn in the center, I basically need to drop it so this grid is actually dissecting . How did you switch to this scene? So this, I double clicked on the object down here. So if I go back, so you can see that I've got these prefabs down here, these objects. If I double click on one of the prefabs, it takes me into just editing the prefab. So I can then do something with this, save it, come out, and everywhere I use this prefab in the game, automatically updated. So that's a good reason to have prefabs. So you can see all these crates over here. All of these crates is this crate down here. So if I change this crate, if I double click on that, change it, all of these change. All my prefabs are 2D, so it's different. Ah yes, yeah. So double clicking on a 2D prefab, I'm assuming it would open up in like a blue background like this. You can edit it or something, and then kind of save it and everything updates. So looking at it, it looks like this crate is sat in the middle of the grid. Yeah, I would try it. Play around with it, see what you get. Prefabs are great for that. But yeah, it looks like Can't say for certain, but it looks like this crate is sat dead center. I've somehow got grid snapping on. Where's the grid snap? Tear that off. That's better. Minus 0.5. So I think this crate is... I think it's the same size as a standard cube, isn't it? Yes. Hey Jeffrey, how's it going? Going great, how are you? Good to see you. For my game I just copied my level 2, which has all my logic behind it, and made my start from a new level. Yeah, that certainly works. That's pretty much what I'm doing for most of my levels in this. But what I'm trying to do is make as many parts of it prefabs. So if I say like a tree, for instance, and that I want that tree to be in every level, and I want that tree to do the same thing in every level, but then I decide actually I want to change what happens with that tree. Rather than having to go through every single level and update that tree, every level uses one tree, and I update the tree, and then all the levels will update. So I'm trying to get to the point where that's true, yeah. It's okay if you're happy with how things are, and then you just copy paste the levels and stuff. Yeah, the problem is if you go, I would like the trees to randomly spawn apples. And you go, that's a cool idea, but then you then have to edit all trees or delete and repaste trees. And so I'm trying to think, if I were to have 100 levels, doesn't matter if I have 2 levels, 3 levels or 100 levels, I want to try and make it so I could have 100 levels and it would be just as easy as if I had 2 levels. But yeah, it's kind of best practice to guarantee that you can, it's scalability they call it, scalability, where you can take something small and make it as big as you want, and you don't make it any more work for you. It doesn't become harder, it doesn't become sort of unstable, it doesn't have any problems. It's just, you just make it bigger and it continues to work. But it's very easy to not think about scalability when you're doing small things like starting off. I mean, I already have prefabs for a couple of things, but not everything. Yeah, that's fine. And you might only use like a special glowing rock that is only in one level. You don't need to have a prefab for that if you only use that one glowing rock once. But if you're using that glowing rock multiple times, it's probably better to have a prefab if that's always going to be the same rock no matter where it is. Use a tile map so all logic is on it with it. Ah, cool. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, doing what you're doing, the tile map will be doing a lot of your heavy lifting for you. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be making too many prefabs just for the sake of it. But anything you plan to use more than once might be worth it. Because you can make a prefab variant as well. Like if I wanted this crate, but I wanted a slightly different version of the crate, I can then move this crate into the world, do something with it, and then make a prefab from that and make a child prefab. So if I change the main crate, it changes all the crates plus all the child crates that are made from that crate. And if I change just the child crate, only the child crates will update in the games. So you can kind of have it cascading prefabs. That's why I copied level 1 with all my logic on it. So yeah, see that's what I did with this initially. And I've only got 2 levels, but before I make a 3rd level, I'm trying to tidy up a few things, so I can just basically make levels from scratch just by dragging stuff in and go, oh, I can just add that in, add this in, rather than copying a whole thing, delete a lot of stuff, add more stuff in. Or if I do want to delete stuff, I know I can add it back in from another level, rather than go, well, I like bits from this level, I like bits from that level, which one do I copy? I just go, well, I've got all the bits as prefabs, I can just drag these in. So you can see it, this white cube is already down here, look. I'm playing around this white cube and it's automatically updating this prefab down here. If you want to change something in your prefab, would you have to place it down in your scene and change it there, or would you have to double tap the prefab, change it? If you double tap it, like I have here, like, see I put a white cube inside this crate. If I now go back, and these cubes, are these cubes linked to the prefab? They're probably not actually. But if I play the level, so these aren't linked to the prefab. They're actually they're actually individual crates. If I now, the crates that I'm using here, look, you can see there's a white cube attached to it. But if I updated all of these crates to be prefabs instead, then yeah, they would all have the same one. But I basically dragged and dropped multiple crates into the scene. So these are actually these crates here and not that crate there. So if I change this crate instead, then these will change. Whereas this crate is the one I'm using to throw. So this one was made from that one, but I've changed only this one, and only the one I fire changes. Whereas if I change this one and put a capsule, yes, we've got a capsule in there now. Yeah, you can see these are all capsules now though. Let's delete the capsule. Go back, no capsule. Yeah, so I've got 2 lots of crates. Realistically, I don't need 2 lots of crates. I just need 1 crate. But this one I'm modifying so it works with the projectile. This one is a prop, so. Also, I did catch my eye when you hit the tree where a rock does. You just play an animation whenever it's hit, or is there a physics behind it? It's just an animation. So if I... So it's basically got an on collision. So when the on collision events, play animation, play audio. So you can see it always does the same animation no matter how I hit it. And the cool thing is I can try and get multiple trees. Maybe not. There's a way I can get hit multiple trees at the same time. And it's there we go. Yeah, so I want to improve that. That was my first attempt at an animation. I would like it to make it a little bit more, there we go, a little bit more fluid, because no matter how you hit it or where you hit it, the tree will always swing one way than the other. So I do want to make that a bit better, but whereas these crates down here, these are pure physics. Like that is just the physics engine going, well, object hits object, kind of apply physics. Same with these barrels over here. So that's all. And how did you do the cracks on the house? Oh, okay. Yeah, I can show you that. So it's a little bit of trickery. I close some of these up. So the cracks are always there. So I don't know how well it comes through on stream, but there's a very thin green box here. If I can highlight it. Where is it? It's in Castle. Grid. There it is. Put the mesh renderer back on. Ah, there we go. So I have an empty object here. Well, would be empty, but I've got a mesh so I can see it. So we have this very thin panel here. And what happens when the game runs, it runs some code to measure this object. So I can make this object as wide or as tall as I want, and then the code will look at it and go, how wide is it? How tall is it? And then it will make a grid of squares. It will spawn in a grid of squares, and each square will have a crack image on it, randomly selected. And then each of those, be right back to walk, okie dokie, I'll see you shortly. Each of those squares then has a on collision on there. If I find the actual squares, they're in the prefabs. Brick spawn, grid view, hit grid, there it is, hit grid square. Yeah. So this is what it spawns. So it will spawn a grid of these. I'll put the mesh renderer back on. No, it's not actually a mesh. Yeah, so it will spawn a grid of these squares. And as you can see, you've got this script that has a series of different images it can choose from. So when it loads up and it's on spawn, it chooses an image from here, and then by default uses the unseen image, which is completely blank, is invisible. On collision, it will show its chosen image. Well, it's on trigger, sorry, not on collision, on trigger. So when the object passes through, it detects as a trigger point, and then display that. Aha, yeah. So the building itself isn't cracking. It's a, yeah. It's just this kind of facade sat in front of the building. So if I hide that again, I can show it in runtime. So if I run the game, and keep an eye on the side here, because it will then populate. There we go. Here's all those squares now. If I hit one over here, pause the game. There you go. Here's the grid. And you can see all of these here are then just floating in front of the building. So yeah, on trigger it basically just shows its hidden picture, but the building itself is just sat behind it. But from the player's perspective, the building's got a crack on it. Because the players are all the way back here. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I was very happy when I worked that out. A little bit of maths. So this is where learning C# by itself works out. At what point does the house collapse? So I've got a script that's running that counts, because again, these amount of squares could be any number of squares depending on the level. Like if I decide I want to make this grid wider, I just drag that object to be wider. The game will go, how many squares is that? It'll count up all of these squares. It'll then check, okay, of which squares, how many of the squares have been set to true. So hit equals true. Counts all the squares that has hit equals true. And when squares of hit equals true equals the same amount of squares total, that must mean the building has been hit in every square. Trigger the next event, which is make building collapse. So yeah, it's just basically counting up. Go, okay, has it been hit? No, hit, no, hit, no, yes, hit, yes, count that one. So yeah, it's constantly checking. I could probably rewrite the code, but at the moment it's constantly checking, have I hit all the squares yet? If so, trigger the next point. And for the building to collapse, all they do is take the building object here and reduce the Y value, so it kind of just sinks into the ground. That's sort of a slow rate sink, but at the same time jiggles the I think it's the Z, no, the X. Yeah, it'll jiggle the X value back and forth, so the building basically wobbles back and forth while sinking into the ground. And when the building gets to possibly 2/3 of the way into the ground, it then basically just hides the mesh, because go, okay, doesn't exist anymore, hide it away. It's still there, can't see it. And then it replaces the building with a pile of rubble. So there's a can't see it, but there's is it here? I think it's here. There's a spawning point that replaces everything with rubble. So the building kind of gets hidden, and then the rubble gets shown, and it goes, oh, the building has gone down, and now there's rubble. But to hide the fact the building is being swapped out, I have particle generators making a smoke effect, like a white cloudy smoke, kind of like a magician's sort of smoke will come up, hide the fact he swapped something around, and then the particle will naturally fade away, and behind it is now a pile of rubble. So I'm using the particle generator as a literal smoke screen. So I'll come out of that one. It's easier to see that on level 1. Where's my levels? Scenes, there we are. Level 1. Yes, let's save that. Because I've got a much smaller building. Let's go pumpkin. You can kind of see what when I throw the object, it kind of just shows and hides the object. And rather than despawning object, once it hits the ground, the little counter comes, ticks away, hides the object, returns the object back to its reset position, and then when I throw it again, show it, apply physics force. So it's pure physics being for the object to be thrown. It's just like apply force in the direction that the player is pointing, with the angle depending on how much power has been applied. I would like to put something hidden behind the trees, so maybe, I know, hit a tree 10 times, you unlock something. Then all I have to do for that is just have a counter, like on collision event, add to counter. Once counter is greater than or equal to 10, unlock feature. So again, that kind of encourages the player to play around with the environment. What have I missed? Okay. So again, this hints button here, all it does is go through all of these squares. Any square that has a hit equals false, change to red for so many seconds, and then hide again. There we go, one more square. So I pause it mid collapse. See the building's just slowly sinking to the ground with a particle generator in front of it. While that smoke screen is in front, hiding what's going on from the player, I swap out the object behind to a pile of rubble. And this is a random generated pile of rubble. It doesn't exist, it's just one brick spawned randomly over a certain area. So this pile of rubble will always be slightly different each time. Because yeah, particles fade away, and we just see a pile of rubble with an arm waving a flag. And of course I can still throw stuff at the rubble, and the bricks kind of just get pushed away. We go to the next level and we come to this one. But yeah, it's just getting these objects to line up properly now. Let's go back to level 2. Eventually I need to kind of finish working out my my intro, kind of what do you call it? FMV, intro video, intro sequence. But this is a little bit more complicated. This is me playing around with stuff unnecessarily complex, like having NPCs talking to each other. Completely unnecessary, but I wanted to try and do it. So just place a load of buildings, worked out like NPCs walking along, talking to each other, and then gets into the actual gameplay. And I'd like to make these levels a bit better because they are literally just some very basic hills with 2 buildings and some hedges. I'll tell you what then, I can probably find out roughly how much adjustment I need to. Options, music. Did you also make the house yourself? I did not. No, I can't take credit for the house. So most of what you see, like object-wise, I got in a big pack. There was a medieval kind of pack with all the houses. This trebuchet was in the pack. This fountain, these barrels, these crates. So all of that was just in one big humble bundle asset pack. But the graphics I made, the barbell I made myself, the chicken I found online separately, the panda I made in Blender, and the pumpkin I made in Blender, as you just saw a little bit earlier. But I thought, I looked at this pack and went, what game can I make with this pack? I thought, well, it has a trebuchet, it has buildings, it has rocks. Could I make a game involves the trebuchet throwing a rock at the building? You go, cool, I'll give that a go. So I basically made this game from buying this asset pack. Because I like medieval periods. I like kind of sort of that era, and I like kind of sort of old technology and stuff like trebuchets. So I thought, let's try and make a game using this kind of sandbox of cool objects. I feel you're being creative is not my thing. Yeah, it's fine, yeah. And it's okay to buy assets to get you going. You don't have to make every single asset yourself. And if you have creative friends, like, we're quite happy to make assets for you to use. That's a bonus. But I could make buildings, and I probably will. Well, the next project I want to do, I will make most of my buildings myself. But I wanted to learn. Well, I wanted to kind of perfect the coding part of it first. I wanted to go learn how the game is put together, and then I can worry about all the creative art stuff. I want to try making RPG game all by myself in the future. Nice, that's a good goal. Certainly look up like RPG tutorials just to make a basic RPG, and then you can expand your knowledge around that. But certainly give that a go, definitely. Now my next project is kind of going to be an RPG light. So it's not going to be bogged down with too many stat things like, okay, you need to boost this stats and that stat, and you need to level up this thing. So I'm going to make it a light RPG, because there's a lot to think about in RPG. There's so many things going on. So I'm going to make it a light RPG. If I decide later on I want to add bonuses into it, then I can do that. Already started making a basic RPG, but I gave up on it since I didn't understand most of it. But after I finished my platformer, I'm picking up that project again with new knowledge. Awesome. So you're making your platform you're making is teaching you a lot of stuff. Now you know how to make a game. Doesn't matter what the type of game is, what the genre. You know how to make a game now. And now you've got the confidence and knowledge to go, well, how do I make a different type of game? Because like a sports game is different to a platform, is different to an RPG, different to a flight sim. different to a kind of real-time strategy. They all have the basic same things involved, but then you have different mechanics you need to learn and perfect. Yeah, it's giving more insight on what I can use. Yeah, like the most useful thing you can have is learning how Unity works. Knowing that how to spawn an object, how to get the objects interacting, how collisions work, how the physics engine works. Yeah, how animations work in Unity. All that stuff you need to know to make any game. So using it in any capacity gives you that idea, and yeah, the coding behind it as well. Coding's still a struggle for me. That's why I started following C# tutorials. Yes. So you're doing exactly what you need to do. You're already on the right path. Now, I had a head start because I learnt C# first for my work. So I already know how C# works. What I didn't know was how C# interacts with Unity and how best to use different elements of Unity in C#. So I already know coding, general coding I'm typically fine with. It's how that coding applies to a game engine. So this has taught me a lot of stuff learning this game, making this game. I've learned a lot from that. I did a few tutorials and then, well, let's try making a game. And this is what we got. Back, but mostly lurking in Total War mode. Nice. Welcome back. Enjoy your Total War. Speaking of strategy. I keep getting an itch to play Red Alert. But I know I can't just play Red Alert for half an hour. If I play Red Alert, it's at least an hour, 2 hours. And I don't typically stick to a game for longer than half an hour at the moment. Unless I'm streaming. Maybe soon I'll get onto that. What you should try playing? Ooh. What should I try? What should I try playing? Right, see if I can capture this mid-throw. There we go. So this barbell is spawning way in front of this, so I need to pull this back. Ever heard of Conqueror's Blade? Conqueror's Blade? I don't think I have. Let's do a quick search on that one. Oh, okay. It's a game I enjoy playing in my free time once in a while. Okay. Conqueror's Blade on Steam. Ooh, looks like a big war game. Lots of armor. Oh, we've got cannons. Oh, this looks interesting. Free to play as well. Okay, I might have to look into that. I'm not sure if it is something you would play, but it's really fun and can be played together with friends. Big siege battles. Yeah, I shall have a look into that. I've got a friend who's into siege battles and stuff like that. So I'll mention that to him. But I shall check that out as well. It's interesting it's free to play. I suppose there's a lot of paid DLC. Only thing about playing with friends that you have to be level 50, I think, before you can play together. Wow. The level's not really hard. Yeah. I'll check that out. If nothing else, it'll give me some inspiration for more medieval stuff. But yeah, it's got the right kind of aesthetic. I like the way it looks. I like that kind of time period. Right, so it's not the best way to do this, but because that is 0, 0, 0, that's fine. If I now line this up, I can find out what the numbers should be. Looks like a massive eye. Oh, it's a Dalek. Okay, so what are we looking at these numbers here? I'm just going to screen grab that transform value. Leave you to it. Have a good evening. Okay, Sam, thank you very much for popping in. It's always good to chat with you. I'm very happy seeing your progress with your game and all your little bits of learning. It fills me with joy that you're experiencing sort of the fun of game dev. But yeah, have a good evening. I should be back next Friday doing more game devy stuff. I'm going to stop that game there. Let's go into the prefabs. This is not... Oops, projectiles. It's not ideal. Not ideal, but I'm going to look at this anyway. Great, see you then. Okie dokie. Alright, so that is minus 0.011. That's practically 0. I might change it to 0, but we'll see how it goes. Minus 2.263. Okay. And that one is minus 8.605. Yeah, we'll zero that because that's so close to 0. Let's see how this looks now. Projectiles barbell. So it's still way off. Do something stupid like that. Projectiles, barbell. Let's see if that makes any difference whatsoever. Turn the appear so. Because those numbers there aren't far off numbers in fact they are better numbers than what I had. So let's zero that. Create an empty. Then inside the empty. So which of the albums did you listen to so far? I listened to both the album by Climax Error and of course one by Cold Step. Loved them both. Very good stuff. What are you doing now? There's minus 2.29. That is minus 8.58. That's going to be close enough. Hey, we fixed that. Minus 0.5. Let's do that. Cool. Pumpkin seems to be center now. Minus 0.5, could we do that? No, okay. Almost need it to be put a parent inside it. let's create it empty. That rock underscore stone. Put that inside of it. I saw the moats lurking, watching train to Busan. Hey Lisa, enjoy your luck. Sell the best emotes there. Now, is it going to let me make a prefab of that? Okay. Let's just call it 1. Yeah, let's call it 1. Minus 0.5. Now the good thing about doing what I've done, so if I go to scriptable objects and go stone, rather than using this object here, I can use this object. Oh, what's in it not like? It's Unity itself's gone. Okay. Switch over to the main camera for a second while I sort this out. Save Unity and close it. Try again. I will have to upgrade this project to the Unity 6.2. Hopefully it's going to be more stable. But I want to make a solid backup first, so I know I'm not going to lose anything or break anything. Let's switch back over to Unity. Oh, it's actually too far down now. Do that and try again. Interestingly, it's it's centered now. Oh well. Pumpkin I've sorted. Panda, I think I still need to sort the panda out. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, sort the panda. That doesn't do anything. Okay. That would do something there. So let's go minus 0.5. It needs to be a little bit lower because the panda itself is a bit taller. Let's go a full -1. And see how that looks. Projectiles, panda. Oh, that think will probably be fine there. Chair. Chair needs to come down. Let's have a look at chair. Put in -2 to make a point. Yeah, okay. Create an empty, call this rock underscore chair. Let's delete that. Zero, 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 zero to all that. And that chair to be 0, 0, 0. And make a prefab out of that. And then go to my scriptable objects, find the chair, projectiles. Cool, save that. See if it breaks. Nope, cool, it's happy. I can now move this down by -1. See how that looks. Okay, so probably -0.5 would be sufficient. -0.5. Projectiles chair. Yeah, that seems to be quite spot on. Barrel. Okay, probably have to do the same with the barrel. Let's delete that one. Create an empty rock. Barrel. Drag that into there. Zero this out. Let's preemptively mark this down as minus 0.5. Let's delete it from there. And go to our prefabs, not prefabs, the scriptables, barrel, back to projectile prefabs and barrel 1. Give that a save. Select the barrel. Spot on. So the rock we now finds crate. Crate needs to be done. Yeah, crate. Let's have a look at the crate. Doesn't really matter where we put the crate. Rock underscore crate. And zero that out. Then go to that. Scriptable objects, crate, projectiles, crate 1, delete it from the scene, minus 0.5. Give that a save. Projectiles crate. Nice, that looks dead center. So is that everything then? Let's go for them. Rock, that's in the center. Crates in the center. Barrels in the center. Chairs in the center. Bar barrel is now in the center. Chicken. Chicken needs to come down. Pandas in the center. Pumpkins in. So the chicken. So yeah, so we need to reduce the chicken down. Can we do that within the chicken? I think we can. Let's go minus 0.5. So make sure we save that. So projectiles, chicken. Nice, chicken's now center. Okay. Go to rocks, select our testing sphere. Actually delete all of these as well. So we have our testing rock. Or placeholder rock, should I say. See, it's all behaving as I would expect it to now. Including the barbell. Chicken. That's quite a solid thud from the chicken there. Need to get some chicken noises in this. And pumpkin. Cool. They all behave as I would expect. What are we looking at for time? We'll be streaming for just over an hour and a half. That's pretty good timing so far. Let's have a quick drink. Rightio. So I'm pretty happy with that. Is there anything else we need to do with the rock system? So the canvas is all prefabbed now. That's good. So the rock has got its own thing going on. So we do have the main camera as part of the camera pivot there. Let's go back to level 1. Where's that? Scenes level 1. So the camera's attached to this whole thing. Now I know the ideal scenario, the camera should always be free floating. It should not be, should ideally not be attached to anything. But is it going to matter if I do have it, keep it attached? Because the player's perspective is always going to be from this point anyway. Oh, excuse me. Film is over. Did you enjoy it? I wrote a very big article today. Ooh, well done. What was the article on? I could never write an article. I'm not an article kind of writer person. All about the new announcement of the game, the Game Awards. Oh, okay. Send you in Dutch. 2,000 words. Wow, that's a lot of Dutch words. I don't know that many Dutch words. Oh, well done. That's awesome. No, I've not actually watched the Game Awards yet. I've seen like a Saw it pop up on YouTube as like a little catch up. I've seen one or two highlights. But I don't know who won what or anything. In total, it's 2,467. I didn't watch either. Oh, okay. That's a lot of words. I had to write a lot of stuff for my apprenticeship, and that's the most I've ever written. And it took me a year and a half to probably write sort of easily. I want to say it's probably 2,000-3,000 words at most. It took me a year and a half. And thankfully I could put a lot of pictures. Ooh, okay. I will attempt to read it. Just read some others that shared it and then write my own with trailer links. Awesome. Post in the chat. You don't have to read it all. I shall give it a go. I'm not sure whether I'll try and read it in Dutch, but I'll certainly try and scroll through it. Scroll through, maybe you'll find something interesting. Oh yeah, yeah. That's cool. I like that things like the Game Awards exist because it recognises video games as a strong artistic medium. And that it is, of course. I think so. Video games kind of pulling in more money than the film industry now, don't they? There's a lot of money. I try to write in easy Dutch, but I still think it may be a little hard to read if you don't know the language. Yeah. Yeah, I'm under no illusion I'm probably not going to understand most of it. I picked up a few Dutch words that I look and go, well, that seems to be this word, and I go, oh yes, it is. But yeah, I seem to be slowly kind of picking bits up here and there. Considering I'm not actively learning it, I've picked up a few things. Yeah, I'm happy the Game Awards exist too. It's a great platform for games and acknowledging all the hard work people put in. Yeah, it's a real talent in video games. Like music writers, artists, like visual artists, voice actors. These are all people that you take away the fact it's a video game, are highly skilled in their own fields. They just come together to make an interactive medium. Not to mention all things like coders and stuff. Yeah, lots of hard work going into it, so it's good. And that I don't think anything I would make would ever get an award, but it'd be nice to think, well, something I'm doing could be recognised. Like even at work, my work is getting recognised, mainly because everyone in the whole business will have to use my work, which is kind of, I'm not sure how to feel about that. It's exciting that something I put an entire year of work into, everybody working in the same business will use. Like I have made an impact for every single person in that business. So that's quite cool to know. But at the same time, if it breaks, that's everybody in the whole business going, well, why did it break? Who needs to fix it? And then looking at me. Tomorrow I continue writing the most expensive Lego sets on Lego.com. Earlier I did one about Dutch web shop. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I like to look on Lego.com and go, oh, If I had the money and if I had a big shelf, I'm buying that. But I have neither. Go to switch to phone now, fingers tired from keyboard. Okay, yes. Oh, you've been typing a lot. It's time for you to relax. Oh, yeah. Now, is there anything I would need to do with this kind of target line? I could do something better than this, because at the moment this is actually just the bricks. Well, I think, is it the bricks or I've just made squares? I could probably make something better, you know. I could even do something slightly animated where it kind of like highlights them or switches them on or off, so it kind of goes like highlight, switch off, and then so each of them kind of almost like a runway, like an airport runway, highlighting kind of this, showing where it's going to be going. I could do something like that. Let's make a create an empty. Call this guideline. We're all inside guideline. There we go. So in theory, I could just turn the guideline off. Which was a suggestion, like, so the guideline disappears or you can bring it back. Ah, it's got power slider 1. Ooh. So that could be an issue. Where's my scriptable objects? Power slider level 2. Right, I need to work something out with this then. This could be an issue that I could easily forget. So I'm basically trying to make this game so it's foolproof. I'm now on phone and watching The Office. Nice. Which episode are you on now for The Office? Camera angle. So it literally just pulls that in. Is that all that script is? Episode 18 of Series 9. Oh wow, you're quite far in. So let's get power slide values. Any specific thoughts about new albums? The best music I've heard from the individual artists, for certain. Definitely getting better and better. I loved the kind of glitchy chopping in the Climax era tracks. It certainly was more minor self-indulgence with the editing, and I'm a big fan of that in minor self-indulgence. So I liked choppiness. Choppiness was pretty cool. And I did like how heavy the cold step stuff was. I'll have to listen to the tracks again and see if I can pick out a favourite track. So power. Okay, so this I don't have to worry about that. That's actually pulling the power in anyway. So it looks for that object. Grabs. Okay, cool. So I basically didn't need to worry about that anyway. So can I go backwards on that? Yeah, so we keep that as power slide 1. That's fine. That's fine. So I've already considered that. The bullseye. Do I have the reticle script on both? So what's going on here then? So move up. So guess the values. Then moves up. Power up position Y. Set position. So whatever that value is. Okay. Okay, so yeah, pause it from that. So that's literally just a set of values. So basically, it's moving the Y value up, and then moves the reticle to match. And the reticle is only there for the camera to look at. And it's not looking at the reticle. So I've removed all the code for that. So as the camera pivots, it moves everything with it anyway. Well, as the trebuchet, sorry. The trebuchet moves, the camera moves with it. So it's keyboard controls. So keyboard controls has a reticle in there. So get component reticle. Where's keyboard controls? Keyboard controls is here. Okay, so there's a bit of redundancy here. Because at one stage, at the early stage of this game, I had this little target here that the player could see. As you're applying the power, you can see it kind of raises up. Now I think I'm still using that. I think I'm still using that for the rock launching code. Yeah. So it's not used. It is used for firing the rock at that target, but the player no longer sees the target. Yeah, so it has to be there as a means to launch stuff at it. Let's go to edit that script. Yeah, target object. So I'll grab the target object, and that kind of sets it to bottom. It resets and that angles. Yeah, so it looks at the target and then fires at the target. And the keyboard control kind of moves the target. Yeah, so the whole mechanic is based around that target that the player can't see, which is fine. I think the only thing that was left really, going to canvas, there's these pictures here. Now, I've added those pictures on manually because they're here. What I would like to do is have those pictures load in from the objects themselves. The lyrics are a bit more offensive on this album. I know, I was in the mood. Yeah, it's all good. I like them. Yeah, so the music is supposed to be an expression, and if you're feeling in a mood, that is the expression you get. I like it. Certainly more punk. So you've got rock images. So this all has all the elements in there. We've got the lock status and the projectile selection. So within this code, I should be able to set the images. I think I've already projectile button. Yes, so set button image. Yeah, so I've written the code already. Set locked image, set unlocked image. That sets. So it's these two functions here I need to call from the projectile. And these button pushes here. Button pressed. So I should really be able to just call this function directly from here. I've got the buttons in. How would I rewrite this? So the button doesn't know which button it is. It just has it's just linked differently. Suppose it could do with having which button it actually is. So we have a button. Let's go public int button ID So each of these should have a button ID now. There we go. So that's button ID 0. That is 1. And that is 2. That is 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. And that is 7. So they all start at 0. Now, knowing what their button ID is, should be able to call a function and pass its own button ID. So it kind of needs to get this, grab this projectile selection. So we call it button pressed. Let's make a function here. Public. It'll be private void, I suppose. We don't need to run it. Private void button pressed. Button on click invoke. Ooh. Okay. I suppose that, yeah. Useful, but not in this context. So it's unlocked, it's going to do that. So changing that property is the same as running that function. And I suppose these two should really, I suppose what should really happen is I pass it an object, and then from that point it kind of does the rest of it itself. But let's do a void start. Private projectile selection is PS. Oh, projectile selection. Yeah, I'm happy with that. On start, get component projectile selection. Close. Find any object by type. Projectile selection. Should only be one of them. Is it a public function? It's private. Let's make it public. Button pressed. And button ID. Save that. Projectile button. Does it need to be public again for me to select it? Probably does. Button press. There we go. Button pressed. I wonder if there's a way of applying an on-click through the code. So I could technically make any button and I don't have to link it to itself. I'll have to look at that. Do some research off stream, I think. So I won't be streaming for much longer because it's just hit 11 PM for me, and of course 12 PM for you folks on the mainland. And I don't want to push my luck being too tired. Cool, so that's all onto that now. So none of these are used anymore. And delete all that. So come that, give that a test. Hide that menu. Still sell emotes. Sell the best emotes. Cool, that still works. So we have the buttons basically calling the same script and just passing their own ID number. Right, I'm thinking I'm probably going to wrap the stream up there. I'll do some little bit of reading off stream as to what we can do to improve this even more. And I'll work on this next week. Switch over to the main full camera. Cool. So a little bit more progress again. Quite happy with how this is going. Like, I'm trying to make this as secure. Let's call it watertight. Let's try and make it watertight as possible. Like, nothing should break, and I should be able to move stuff around and just have it work. Thank you for streaming. Cool. Epic as always. Thank you both. It's always good to see you. Yeah, I'm trying to make this game in the most logical and proper way as possible. So we'll get there eventually. I want to do this, at least have one more level, so we have 3 levels before the end of this year. We'll see how we get on, and I'll put the demo out and see what people think. And I'll start on my new project next year, and we'll keep coming back to this to improve it. Have a good night, great weekend, and try and read the article. Yes, I'll give that a go. But yeah, hope you enjoy your weekend as well. We're back on Monday doing stuff in Minecraft. Might be a tired one. I'm going to try and sleep a little bit on Monday. I'm not working next week. Well, I will be logged on to work, but I won't be working. Hopefully no work. But yeah, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you all on Monday. So see you then. Good night.